Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome to Ferret Face Fail Productions. So today we're out here on the Rawrr Mantis doing some single track out here in Colorado. And you know what? I had a really good time. This is an awesome and extremely capable bike. It is probably, it definitely has become my favorite electric dirt bike out of this class. So we're going to talk a little bit about electric dirt bikes as a whole and the Rawrr Mantis specifically. So there's a little bit of going both ways here, so enjoy the ride, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the controversy that is electric everything, right? So first, let's talk about electric dirt bikes as a whole, because there just seems to be this huge animosity or hate for electric anything right now, which is caused by political pressures in our government and I don't know. There's just a lot of things surrounding electrified anything, it seems. And I think a lot of people are threatened by the fact that electric dirt bikes are going to take over, or they're going to make gas dirt bikes illegal. I don't know. I think as off-road vehicles, it would be very hard to get rid of dirt bikes as a whole having gas engines. I don't know. That's me personally. I don't look at this as any sort of political one way or the other. It's either a good, fun bike to enjoy, or it's not. I've been on terrible gas bikes. Let's just talk about for 1 second some of the really bad Amazon and Chinese bikes that are out there. I've been on Apollos and some of those, and they're terrible. They're not good bikes, regardless of being gas, electric, whatever, poorly constructed. And that's probably hypocritical coming from somebody who both sells and rents GPX Moto, but there's a huge difference in quality between those. Now, I think the other big thing is that, electrics, and, they look like toys, and they're just Chinese junk, and that's just not really the case. I think overall, Suron, Talaria, Rawrr, they make pretty good products. I think they've been pretty reliable. I think that's been proven at this point. I think your individual use case determines whether it's a good fit for you, because it may not be. I think if it's your only dirt bike, you might actually be you could be very disappointed in it, I think. And then there's added costs. And then to kind of address the latter portion of that whole thing is that they're not capable, and then they fall apart or they break, whatever. The Rawrr Mantis here specifically is quite capable. In fact, I've been very impressed with both Mark riding it on a really difficult single track, Pipeline, Mount Rosa. I think he's done Rosa on it. Anyways, we've done quite a bit of single track and hard riding here in Colorado in the Mantis. And it has held up well. We haven't blown through any forks. We haven't broken anything on it. And we're scraping the bottoms, going over trees. We're very hard on them. In fact, I broke the display on our last ride. That was my bad. Any bike, I think, would have probably succumbed to that, being slammed into a tree that way. And that's okay. Things are going to break on bikes, and I think these have proven that they're very reliable as a whole. So electric dirt bikes, as you see here, are very capable. They're lightweight. They're a lot of fun. In fact, in this type of tight riding, I can't tell you how 150 pounds feels like nothing. I was really having a good time. I wasn't exhausted. Next, we'll really talk about the Achilles heel to the electric dirt bikes as a whole, which is range. Range is a sore subject on all things electrified, right? It doesn't matter if it's a car, if it's a truck, whatever. Battery technology is just kind of in an awkward place right now. Now, this being a hot swappable battery, that's kind of a cool thing, but it doesn't really apply to us trail riders a whole lot, simply because, I'm not carrying an extra 30-pound plus battery. That's not happening. So it really comes down to how much range do I get out of the battery that comes on it? And in this case, we have discovered between Mark and I that 25 miles of actual hard single track steep terrain, I'm talking about pretty much the worst case scenario here, you're going to get about 25 miles of range with a rider that weighs between 180 and 200 pounds. So honestly, that's pretty good. We rode for like 3 hours on this ride right here, and it was slow going because, tight stuff. So, you know what? I was pretty beat by the end of it. And I think we ended out here. I think I had about 40% left. So, yeah, it was pretty good. I had no real complaints with the range that day. Now, there are times that we had one ride with Meeker Extreme where we were doing a range test. So we ran it out of range right at 25 miles. So there you go. That is what it is. Now, there are bigger batteries coming for the Rawrr Mantis, and there's always going to be aftermarket options for like the Talarias and stuff. Artilleria would probably make it at least 35 miles of hard riding, if not a little bit more. It just depends on the rider. It really does. And I think some regen being turned up on the Rawrr might help a little bit too. So, yeah, there are things that are downsides to the electric dirt bike. Range is really the biggest one. Power-wise, oh gosh, they have more than enough power. The Talaria is stupid. I mean, that's at 14.5 kilowatts, more than enough juice to get you up anything. I think it's pretty comparable in power to one of our 302 strokes. The Rawrr Mantis at 7,500 watts is what they claim with the 60-volt battery. You know what? Its power, it's like the torque of a 300 and the top end of a 250 maybe. It's pretty decent. And I had no problems. I had plenty of power to get up some of the steepest little climbs we had here, so... plenty of power. Yeah. So if range is a concern for you, then yeah, it's not an only bike option to me right now. And I think around below the $5,000 mark, yeah, that's expensive to some. I think it's pretty cheap for a bike these days. That's quality. That's a pretty good thing to have as a single track weapon, so to speak. And my kind of advice to you is, if range is really concerned, look into aftermarket battery options. I think the 72 volt that's coming for the Rawrr Mantis is going to add, I think, probably 10 to 15% more range, so not a whole lot. But there's going to be even bigger batteries that come, I have no doubt. And in that case, I would say best case scenario, you're going to probably add about 20 pounds of weight to the bike, 15 to 20, just my guesstimation here. And then you're going to get a maximum of about 40 to 45 miles of actual hard trail riding on one of these bikes. Now, once you get into the 40-mile range, I think, gosh, I would be set. I don't do a lot of rides that are that long anymore. Yeah, some days, sure. I have my dual sport days. I have different bikes for different things, so just depends. But in that case, that's where I start to be extremely happy with these bikes, getting more range, having some options to swap batteries in. The downside of that particular scenario is then you're paying for another, $1,600, probably $2,000 battery, depending on what the size is. And at that point, sure, you know what, once it starts to become a $6,000 bike, and then maybe you want a controller, if that ever becomes a thing for the Rawrr, that to get you more power, then you're looking at, $7,000. Yeah. So you get into this point where how much do you really like electrics versus how much do you really want, a gas dirt bike, and vice versa. And in a lot of ways, they're two different things. The ride is so different. The electric is quiet, very light. If you're doing slow technical stuff, it is the perfect platform. If you're riding open desert and doing high-speed stuff, it is not. It is probably not going to be super satisfying to you because really these all top out right around that 50 miles per hour, and if you geared it down, sure, you might be able to get it towards 60, but it is a small, lightweight platform that will be very nervous at high speeds, in my opinion. In that case, go get yourself a 450. And that's why so many options exist for dirt bikes. Just because electrics are coming out and some people look at them and like, oh no, I'd never buy that, and those tree huggers and whatever. Yeah, that just kind of, if you want to ride on two wheels and enjoy our trails, I don't care what the vehicle is, so long as you're being respectful to the mountains and our trails, and that you're having fun. I don't really care if it's a gas or electric, if it's a 450, if it's a 300, if it's a two-stroke or a four-stroke. Gosh, man, it doesn't... It shouldn't really matter out there, and I always offer and tell people, hey, come and take one out. If you think it's stupid or a toy or it's whatever, yeah, I got some trails I can point you to. Take one out, have some fun. You may hate it. Yeah, that's okay. Everybody's got an opinion. But I always say have an open mind. I went into this having an open mind with these electric dirt bikes, and I've been pleasantly surprised with both the Rawrr Mantis, our Talaria. So those have been the two that we've mainly been working with. I'm trying to get an Ultra B. It's been kind of a sore subject, but I hope to have one of those. Ultra B, I think, is kind of a sweet spot. We'll see when we get one of those and do some reviews. Bigger battery, more power, a little bit more weight, still lighter than a dirt bike. I don't know. I'm kind of liking the combination. We'll see. Now, I want to finish this off a little bit as, this isn't necessarily my full review on the Rawrr Mantis. I just haven't had enough time. This was my first real, actual single-track hard ride on the Mantis, aside from messing around with it in a parking lot and easier stuff. So I want to do a few more before I make any full judgments about it. But what I can say so far is that the Rawrr Mantis is very well put together, and you can tell that a dirt biker, somebody who really rode, engineered it. The angles of the suspension are better. It feels more planted than the Talaria. The suspension as a whole feels more geared to an enduro setup than what the Talaria comes with, in my opinion. The entire chassis is more set up for endurance and trail riding, in my opinion. I know I've seen a lot of people motocrossing it, and Rawrr themselves pimps it out, but the entire platform feels so much more secure and planted when it comes to the trail riding stuff. And it's bone stock right now. We haven't done anything to it. It's got better brakes than the Talaria, better forks than our DNMs for sure, and even the Talaria factory forks. Hell, I even think I like the forks on the Rawrr Mantis better than the Manitou Dorados that we bought for it, for the Talaria. And the suspension I really have come to like on that bike. So the power, very respectable. It's definitely more than what the stock Talaria used to be at 6,000 watts, less than I think the new peak output. And in that case, I think that's apples to oranges. What matters with the Rawrr Mantis is their upcoming program to switch over to a 72-volt battery, and the new bikes are coming at 72-volt, I think is the only option. And that's going to make a huge difference, because that means I think that ups the power output. I think it was above 9 kilowatts, or it was 9 to 12 kilowatts. I don't know if I'm allowed to say yet, so we'll just leave it around there. Let's just say it's going to be more than anybody else is offering right now. And that's really cool. And also that means that the controller is ready to go with 72 volts. That's really sweet. And they're going to have Bluetooth connectivity to it to make your own tunes and throttle mapping. The Rawrr Mantis has so many things coming. The 60 volt that we have in some ways felt like an early prototype and proof of concept to the company, which is normal. It's kind of like the Talaria MX3s and the Sarons. They're testing out new technologies to build them into better products as they come out. And that is really cool. I think we're going to really see some awesome stuff going forward. These companies are doing some cool things, and not all of it I can talk about right now, but the Rawrr Mantis has got me excited simply because they're an LA-based company. They manufacture in China, but they've been very responsive. Andy Lesner, the CEO, came out to A&M Moto Toys here in Colorado and visited us, chatted with us. He was a great guy. I can't say enough about how they were super respectful of us, our time. They were very nice to my dog. I judge a lot of people on how they treat my dog. Maybe I shouldn't do that. But so that means a lot to me. That means we'll have a little bit more commitment to Rawrr than some of the other brands for a good reason, and they make a good product. Now, the last elephant in the room that I guess I kind of want to look at with, and this goes for all electric dirt bikes, and we actually had talked about this a little bit with the CEO of Rawrr as well, is that a lot of the customer base for these electric dirt bikes are the people that are stunting on the roads, illegally riding them, pissing off people that don't like these types of devices or vehicles, whatever. And all I have to say is that we are dirt bikers. My entire intention of these bikes is that they are OHV vehicles. They go on trails. Whatever you do with them outside of that is your personal choice. If you want to be confronted by a cop on the street with one of these, that's up to you. I don't endorse that. I really, quite honestly, for being all the way honest with myself, I absolutely hate that crap. I think it's stupid. I think it makes the entire community look bad. I think it also makes dirt bikers look bad, worse than they already do with all the ATVs and dirt bikers stunting in cities and crap like that. That stuff really pisses me off, and it's no different with these vehicles. I don't judge people for the choices they make in their life. I believe people should have free will. But also, you have to respect other people's space. You also have to respect the law. You can work to get things voted in or changed. I would love to see street legal versions of these. They've got to have more power than a Grom. So, but that's another elephant in the room where I think a lot of people hate these. They see a lot of dumb videos out there on the street stunting and doing crap. We're not those people. Not at all. I don't subscribe to any of that whatsoever. Anyways, this video is getting too long, and I hope you guys really enjoyed the footage of us doing some dirt biking out here. I'm going to put up all the raw like I've been doing here recently, so if you hate hearing my stupid voice, go check out the raw footage. And I really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think about the Rawrr Mantis and the other electric dirt bikes out there. Do you think it's the future? Do you hate it because it's electric? And would you ever buy one or try one out? Thanks for watching, guys. Ferret Face out.